Here.
Commissioner Bajaj,
Here.
Commissioner Anderson,
Here.
Commissioner Nafisi, Commissioner Beasley,
Present.
Commissioner Sal,
Here.
Chairperson Arata.
Present. Okay, salute to the flag. Would you like to lead it? Commissioner Nafisi, thanks.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approve order of agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the order agenda.
I'll second it.
Any public comment?
I don't think you need public comment for
All
this
in
item.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Blue folder items, additional backup materials, blue folder items or additional backup material to administrative reports and/or public comments received after the printing and distribution of the agenda packet for receive and file.
There were no blue folder items submitted for the meeting tonight. We did have an email that came in asking for the Redondo Park to be named after the late Mayor Bill Brand that could be entered into the record as a receive and file. And we'll include that with the record.
Sure. Anybody want to give a motion?
I'll make the order to receive and file.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar, business items except those formally noticed for public hearing or discussions are assigned to the consent calendar. The commission members may request that any consent calendar items be removed, discussed, and acted on separately. Items removed from the consent calendar will be taken up under the excluded consent calendar section below. Those items remaining on the consent calendar will be approved in one motion following oral communications. Moving on to F1, approve affidavit of posting for the Public Works and Sustainability Commission meeting. F2, approve the Public Works and Sustainability Commission meeting minutes for the August 25th and 25 regular meeting. Do we have an motion to approve this?
So before we do that, just for the record, there is no hands raised on Zoom and there is no e-comments for this.
Okay. All right.
Now I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Excluded consent calendar items.
There's none.
Okay. Moving on to public participation of non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with the opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. This section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once. Written requests, if any, will be considered first under this section.
There are 2 cards. Jim Mueller.
Evening, Commission.
Hello, good evening.
My first time to appear before you, and thank you. How can you tell if an area is a thriving community center? You see people. People are going in and out of businesses. Some are sitting and relaxing in an outdoor cafe or public space. People feel comfortable taking their time there with their families and children. So why don't you see people spending time on the Artesia corridor? And why aren't there more thriving businesses that those crowds would attract? Because the public and pedestrian space along the boulevard feels to many people cramped, noisy, and to some downright dangerous. On Artesia, you are a few feet away from a constant stream of fast-moving vehicles, speed limit 35, often exceeded, a rush of disorderly noise and potential danger pounds your head. You're nervous and alert, especially if you have kids with you. As much as I love trees, the trees in the center green belt of a lot of the Artesia corridor have grown and their branches overhang the roadway, creating a tunnel effect. the storefronts on one side, the median on the other, and noisy traffic in the middle. If you must set foot on Artesia, you feel the need to get in and get out, or as many do, avoid the area entirely. What can be done to make the Artesia corridor more people-friendly? First, discourage through traffic. Many motorists who enter at Hawthorne, Redondo Boulevard, or Inglewood or Aviation are on their way out of town. They have the most incentive to exceed 35, jump traffic signals, and use other tactics to speed through Redondo. Through traffic adds a lot to the noise and pedestrian sense of danger. Through traffic does not benefit Redondo Beach. My suggestion, make pedestrians a priority. Reduce the speed limit, get tough with violators, adjust the timing of the stoplights to make more stops, make mid-block crosswalks, raise the roadway at intersections, creating so-called speed tables, encourage through traffic to divert to Manhattan Beach Boulevard or 190th Street, even Grant Avenue. This commission could also recommend to the council that developers' new build plans specify greater setbacks along Artesia to create more distance from traffic. How to help pay for these changes? The state has grant programs for traffic calming and improvement projects. Also, the business districts would be more thriving if the boulevard was more attractive to people. I suggest the commission ask staff to study these issues and recommend changes that will result in an Artesia corridor where people want to spend time and money to make a better Redondo Beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Duke.
All right, good evening, commissioners. Laura Duke. On September 30th at 3 p.m., the groundbreaking of a new park will take place. This will be a nature park, the first one of its size in Redondo in decades, right off Redondo and PCH. We should call it Bill Brand Park. Mayor Light and the late Mayor Brand, along with the South Bay Parkland Conservancy, worked hard to make this happen, and finally we have the necessary SoCal Edison approval on 2.5 acres of what will be a beautiful parkland space. The park will have meandering pedestrian paths with locations to sit. This is great news in our park-poor city, and it would be fantastic to eventually expand a greenbelt to the sea all along 190th. My personal hope, and I'm sure the wish of many others, and the group Citizens for Redondo Trees, led by Laura McMorrin and Mara Lang, is to have lots of trees there to provide much needed shade, which also act as nature's air conditioners and purifiers. We need trees, and parks need trees. This is all especially exciting given it's right near the entrance on the north side to Redondo Beach, where the Redondo Beach King Harbor sign is. So it will be a welcome statement to all the residents returning home and the first thing that greets visitors to our city. I recall Mayor Brand also talking about trying to ultimately get the habitat of the lower part of this area back to what it once was, with marshland, drawing back the native fauna. He talked about rewilding before rewilding became the hot topic it is today. The shutting down of the AES power plant and return of this area to its native state was championed for years by Bill Brand and the Parkland Conservancy he co-founded. Let's honor and pay tribute to Mayor Brand, who worked tirelessly for more open space, public spaces for the residents of Redondo Beach and all who visit. Bill Brand Park would be the most fitting name. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no other cards.
Okay.
There is also no hands raised on Zoom. There is one e-comment also supporting naming the park after the late mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to I, items continued from previous agendas.
There's none.
Okay. J, items for discussion prior to action.
Thank you, Jesse. Good evening, commissioners. Andy Winge, Public Works Director, and with me tonight I have Mark Garlock, the city's arborist, urban forester / parks manager, sitting in to help a discussion on increasing the tree canopy in the city of Redondo Beach. I know we do a lot of traffic things here, so you have to change hats tonight. Put on your sustainability hat, and we'll talk about helping the city's tree canopy. Just a little background on this. The City Council, as part of their current strategic plan, asked for staff to bring back an item by the end of the year, discussing strategies and options to increase the city's tree canopy. So the council has expressed a lot of interest in this. As many of you recall, we passed a city tree protection ordinance a couple of years ago after visiting this commission and other commissions, as well as the council, over a couple-year period. That tree ordinance is in place. It only addressed our public trees, city-owned trees. So there's perhaps more work to do, and certainly things were debated during that time that didn't get carried forward, but maybe part of our discussion tonight later on. The benefit of trees is very broadly known, I think, to most. Lots of good information coming out these days about tree canopy is not just a nice to have, but a necessity as part of the city's infrastructure for environmental reasons, for social reasons, property value, economic reasons, aesthetic beauty. There's just a lot of good reasons to favor tree canopy in urban places. It's a newer field in public works, despite the fact that there's so much good here that County of LA just adopted their community urban forest management plan last year, the very first one. So it is a relatively new field that is being explored by municipal agencies, public works agencies in the state. As I mentioned, we do have some history with tree canopy in the form of our tree ordinance adoption. And I also have with us tonight Rob Osborne, this Public Works Department's senior management analyst. He kind of carried the ball for the previous ordinance. Rob will be leaving the city, retiring in a few months. So if you want to ask any kind of questions about the history, you got to get him tonight. So I asked him to come along to provide whatever history during that conversation we had a couple of years ago. There's lots of ways that cities approach capturing the benefits of tree canopy. We'll look at a few of those things tonight. They're very much location specific. Certain climates adapt these kind of ideas differently, but in general viewed very positively as something that the city could pursue and should promote. The city's specific urban forest is kind of documented here with some stats. We have over 11,300 city-owned trees in our inventory. The city's area is about 1,000 acres, so that's a little over 100 trees per acre. Did I do the math right on that? 10 trees per acre, sorry. And so we have trees in our streets, we have trees in our parkways, and then our city-owned facilities as well. We have broad species diversity here. There's a table there with the top 10 species, common names there in the middle column and percentages. And then we have an other category, which is the predominant pie piece there in the graph, 216 species represented in that 41.62% of our inventory. Despite the broad species diversity is good, it's not necessarily ideal. Mark can talk more about kind of the mix of those trees and how they fit best in our community and with each other. I also have a table here showing the age distribution of our trees with trunk diameter as a proxy measurement for age. And you see that most of our trees are, 20 to 25 year bandwidth. We're biased towards aging trees. We probably don't have enough younger trees based on this table. So that ought to be something we consider as well as we approach improvements to our tree canopy for the years moving forward. Mark told me today that the average life of a street tree is only 7 years. And so it's kind of a numbers game where you want a lot of young trees and care for a lot of young trees in the hopes that you increase the quantity that make it through to the more mature canopy producing ages. There is data available on the city's canopy coverage. Apart from just the inventory of trees, the canopy coverage is a measure of the shaded area versus possible area in a given parcel or census tract or city. The map on the right here is from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's and U.S. Forest Service called the California Urban Tree Canopy Viewer. I think the link to that was in the package that you received in the agenda. That photo there, it shows census tract areas color-coded with qualitative statements about tree coverage. So very high is the darkest green, then high, then down to very low in the palest colors. You can see Redondo Beach kind of fits in with the other cities in our area. We have areas that are just below the statewide level and areas that are considered low. Some of the cities on the Hill have a lot more coverage than we do, but we're pretty consistent with the other beach cities and South Bay Basin cities. That said, the statistics from this database show that we have an 8.3% canopy cover based on 2022 data. Ideal ranges from 15 to 25% for a municipality, for an urban area. And so we're certainly below that. There is a comparison to data from 2018, and I mentioned this in the staff report, that it's a considerable drop, 14% in just 4 years, which seems very unlikely to me in an apples-to-apples comparison, just because we haven't had, tree rot or big diseases or fires or things that might have diminished us that much in a 4-year time period. Our GIS analysts took a closer look at some of the math and polygons that they used to determine area, and it looked to him like they were using some different standards and techniques 4 years ago till now. So it just stresses, and this is a great chart. I don't want to belittle the quality of information here, but I think the point I'm trying to make with this is that there is great advantage to doing a specific study to our city. Getting a professional to look at the data for our city, finding where the gaps are, not just where our trees are, but where our possibilities are. What is the capacity for the city to increase its canopy given our terrain and our various land uses? So the right-hand side, or the left-hand side shows in pink areas that are considered heat island severity, and ranges from mild and light pink to severe, and the darkest pink there. I was really surprised by the disparity between North and South Redondo in this photo. And I expect it has to do with a little bit better tree cover in the south part of the city, but maybe the distance away from the coast and the coastal breezes as well for the northern half of the city. I'm speculating there. I don't really know the reason. That would be something we might want to look into as well. But heat island effect is very important to address through tree canopy, through other measures, not just tree canopy, but landscaping versus paving and things like that, where we can do that to reduce heat island effects in any urban area. Back up one step there, I mentioned the refinement of our inventory, not just our inventory, but our canopy. And that's really a key measure to understand before we begin to try and set goals and timelines. We want to know what's achievable. We want to be able to make realistic goals about the ability to grow our canopy. So just as we think about what our next steps, what our strategies, we want to really emphasize the importance of good data here at the beginning to understand where we are with our canopy and what our potential is as we begin to look into this. Thanks, Mark. We think about, in public works anyway, we think about trees in two categories, the ones we take care of and the ones we don't take care of. The ones we take care of are the city-owned trees, and there are things that we are very much in control of with our city-owned trees. As mentioned in our tree protection ordinance, there are regulations in there about which trees can be removed during development, how trees should be protected during construction, maintenance techniques that should and should not be used. certain standards of care mentioned there. So that's a well-developed ordinance. Perhaps there's work to do there, but that's I can't believe I'm going to say this, that's not the low-hanging fruit. That's that's where we've done a lot of good work already. We do have an approved species list, which is a part of good ordinance. It needs to be updated. It's a little bit dated right now. We need to work on that as well. That would be a good thing to do after we do a further inventory of species and begin to think about how we'd like our distribution of species to look. Certainly within an approved species list, there are unapproved trees that we should also list, perhaps, that we would not want in the public spaces. Certainly the right-of-way has a lot of considerations with utilities, buried utilities, sidewalks, pavement, other thing that tree roots can work negatively on. We can improve or develop a fuller policy manual about how we manage our city-owned trees, standards of care, policies about investment that the city makes in either replacing trees or adding to our tree cover, types of use, types of trees, a number of ways. That's an area of growth in our policy, in this area of a policy manual. And then there are planting programs. Certainly the council funds every year. We make a goal to plant 100 trees every year. Not all of those are new trees. Some of those are replacement trees. But there are programs where municipalities or other agencies, like I think PG&E does this, gives away trees to residents for planting on their private parcels as well. So looking into planting programs, encouraging private citizens to plant trees in their own spaces or corporations to plant trees in their spaces would be a good part of what we can do as a city policy-wise to increase. You'll see our tree protection ordinance titles there on the right side of the page, and those all have to do with public trees. So we don't address private trees in our municipal code right now. If you give me the next slide. This is an area where we can grow in terms of things that we can do to improve our canopy over the years. Lots of opportunities with redevelopment and development. What those opportunities are, what they should look like, how much is enough, how much is too much, those are all questions that remain to be answered. The American Planning Association has some sample ideas here that I've thrown up on the screen in terms of preservation or planting or reaching canopy goals through fee in lieu programs, other things like that. So those are all things that we could consider. Preservation requirements, in other words, prohibition against taking out trees indiscriminately. We looked at that a little bit last time with heritage trees. It didn't have enough horsepower to get through the process to become part of our ordinance at the time. There's reasons for that. It infringes upon people's personal property rights. So that's a challenge. So those have to be well crafted and well thought out to be included and to be effective. Certainly something that we might recommend to the council to look at again as part of increasing our ordinance. Our private property is about 75% of the land area in the city. So it's hard to imagine how to do a lot of improvement, move the needle a lot on tree canopy without addressing private property. But there are some challenges there. So they are a very necessary partnership with us in this process. Have a little bit of data there about the 1,400 parcels in the city and just the 27% that's city-controlled land. Okay. All right, so the conversation we're asking for tonight is to help staff in its presentation to the City Council in a couple of, month or so. There are big picture plans that, for instance, the county has done. I gave you a couple other examples in the administrative report from various cities that have done a really nice job. Garden Grove was one. What was the other one I had? Claremont, thank you. Big urban forest management plans. These are big studies, tens of thousands of dollars kind of studies. They look at a long-term 20-year, 30-year, 40-year window to build canopy in their forests. They're data-driven. They do a lot of assessment of capacity for new tree growth, new canopy improvements for existing trees. They do a lot of engagement with the public, questions about just social values. How do we want to do this? How important are trees to us versus other economic needs we have in the city versus other space needs that we have in the city versus what we want to require or not of private property owners with the trees on their own land. The social context is studied. Certain communities, trees may be important in a different way than they are in our communities. So all that is studied. Social equity is an important use, especially when it comes to things like heat island effects and health effects and benefits of shade and where those are, they're good shade coverage in areas where there's not good shade coverage. So that is often studied in these kind of studies. Biodiversity of the plant species and the other species that are supported by tree life and how those fit into the built environment in the settings that we're in with health and safety concerns about tree limbs falling or fire danger or things like that. So these are typically big studies, very deep, very well thought out. It's kind of the gold standard for how you might approach a plan to increase your tree canopy. Topics on how the agency manages, things that we've talked about before. And then other economic drivers. The LA County has a whole chapter on the economic drivers and opportunities for tree growth, everything from careers in tree management to the products that trees might provide or the opportunities they might provide from shade and other things. So very comprehensive studies. That's kind of the long-term approach. Kind of a middle approach was adopted by the gateway cities a few years ago. They kind of developed a priority, what they call a priority plan, which looked to me like a shorter term plan, maybe 5 to 10 year window, identifying, again, an assessment of the local canopy for each city was done and the potential in those cities for additional trees. They identified priority areas based on social economic factors, both spatial, like where do the trees go, and administrative, what can we do quickly, efficiently as a municipal government to encourage tree canopy growth. They did some, rather than deep, long-lasting public engagement, these were more survey monkey kind of surveys, questions about what do people prefer, what do people want to see, what's far enough, what's too far on some of the requirements that might be included in planning code, for instance. And then looking at shorter term funding commitments and sources that might be available for those cities to plant more trees, to include more trees, to maybe increase staff to manage trees a little bit more than they have been able to, things like that. So shorter term, 5 to 10 year look, maybe from that gateway cities study that was done. And then there's kind of quick action stuff. What can we do now? What can we change right away? Could we, in next year's budget, increase our commitment to planting more trees? Could we develop a program by, next Arbor Day, for instance, to give away a certain number of trees to people who wanted them for their yards? Those kinds of things maybe are more quick action. All of these things help. And kind of the question that we want to put to you tonight is, what kind of scope should we take to the council in terms of strategies to accomplish the goal to increase tree canopy? Do we want to spend a lot of money in maybe a couple of years doing a full urban forest management plan? Do we want to do something a little bit quicker? Could we do all of these at once? Probably not. Could we start at quick action and then build? That may not be the most efficient way to do it. We might want to really think about how we do that. So that's what we're trying to tee up a conversation tonight for you all to have, certainly with the public's input, about how we might present strategies to the city council when we go next month to make that presentation. So here are the recommendations, is just to provide any input regarding priorities, scope, values, strategies for the staff to present, or any other ideas as you have them that we might include in our narrative to the city council. So that concludes our prepared remarks here tonight, but certainly we have some expertise here in the room about the city's programs and what we do. And I know we have a couple in the audience who might be able to provide some good input about what other cities are doing in other places. So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Are we going to have Is he going to come up and?
Is Mark, no, Mark's going to just answer questions unless you want to add anything, Mark, that I've left out. No, okay. Mark's just going to answer questions for us.
Okay.
And Rob is also available.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Andrew, can you go back to that slide where it talked about the APA? The American, yeah, there we go, American Planning Association. It's saying preservation planning, there's like 200% credit based on the existing canopy. What's the credit? 125% credit. What is that referring to?
I'm not very good at thinking like a planner because I'm an engineer and we're at opposite ends of the spectrum, but my understanding would be that there would be a program set up that when you redevelop a property, you would need to achieve certain credits with contributing to tree canopy. So you might get more credit for preserving a tree, a fully mature tree, than adding new trees. I think that's what that's about.
Okay. I'm just wondering if it's tied to some sort of incentives for privately owned properties.
Yeah, the Community Development Department is aware that we're going to be coming back to the council, and they have some experience, some ideas, our staff there. So I didn't bring them into tonight's conversation because it deals less with public works things, but certainly they'll have some contributions to make about both carrot and stick approaches to redevelopment.
Okay, thanks, Andrew.
Commissioner Nafisi?
Thank you so much for the presentation. A few questions, or if, I don't know if this is possible to kind of tie into your recommendation. And I know that you guys haven't updated your lists in quite some time, but to consider less flowering trees and less fruit trees. They do take up more water and they're very messy. And in this day and age where we're not supposed to use electric leaf blowers, it's also problematic to clean up. I know the city recommended a tree in front of my house and it is like a mess every single day. So something to consider as you think about the trees that when you guys redo your list. The other thing is, have you guys ever thought about when people redevelop their homes early in the stage, when people submit their permits early on, if they have a tree there, to tell them early on? I was informed after all my permits were approved. So I was like, well, we can't back out right now. And that cost us $5,000. Like, had we known before and just swapped the driveway, we could have saved a tree. So I think there's an opportunity to be a little more creative. If you can ask your planning department, hey, if we can save a tree, can we, earlier in the process? But if you tell me at the end of the process, we've already waited a year, we're just at this point, we're just going for it. So that's something that just came to mind. The harbor giveaway is such an awesome opportunity to get people to plant trees. I've actually been to 3, picked up 3 trees, brought it home. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Totally planted it. We have 3 trees in our backyard that tower over 12 feet. So do that. I know the city of LA does it every year. I don't know who they partner with to get the trees, but awesome way to get trees, free trees in the city. Priority areas. I'm sure the entire city is going to be looked at, but if the Galleria goes through and as we negotiate different upgrades, as maybe that's part of the upgrades, that they can maybe invest in that area and add more trees in that area is just something to think about. That's all I got.
Do we have any public comment?
Yes, I have several cards. The first card I have is Marlang.
I have something to share with the commission. Sure.
Motion to accept.
Oh, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I start? I don't see a timer, but so my name is Mara Lang. I, with Laura.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you. So my name is Mara Lang. I presented to this commission a few years ago when the city was exploring a tree ordinance. So that was probably like 4 years ago. So I'm back, and Laura and I have put together a new group called the Redondo Beach Citizens for Trees. So I'm also on the Public Amenities Commission, and I sit on the South Bay Parkland Conservancy Board. And quite a few years ago, I took on the tree issue and started asking a lot of questions at the city level. And I also reached out to many other cities that have thriving tree programs, like the city of Encinitas, who your new forestry manager is really familiar with their ordinance, and that city has been a champion for their urban forest, and the way they've implemented their plan is really impressive. And you can just go to their city website. So I don't have a ton of time up here, but I have a lot of information, and I've been an activist on this issue for probably 9 years or more. And so I'm learning a lot about what the city is doing with the council, trying to come up with a recommendation. And so I think that I was going to ask to be the public amenities to have like a co-committee, because I would have loved to have been on the sustainability committee, but it obviously is not going to work out. But I know you have to make a recommendation right now, but if this is an issue that you are really interested in, I really recommend start doing a little bit of research and look at what other cities are doing, because we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just trying to adopt what other cities are already doing, and there's a big need, especially in North Redondo. I live here in South Redondo, but I care just as much about their tree coverage up there as I do about in my neighborhood. And I just wanted to say one more thing. So we have a lot of palms in the city, and that was it was like 1,989. But really, those palms don't capture carbon the way that like a woody tree does. And so if we even remove those from that list, we really only have about 9 trees per acre. And I'm actually pretty shocked about that. So I just think we should really hit this goal hard and really go with the long-term plan. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while. So my time's up, but I'm also, on that piece of paper that I gave you, my information is on there, and I would be happy to answer any questions or come back and speak or do a presentation or whatever this council might be, or commission might be interested in from us. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jim Mueller?
Evening again. I live on a street in District 5 with no parkway. It's R multiple zoning, like much of North Redondo. All of our trees are on private property. The current tree ordinance would allow all of those trees to be removed at the whim of the lot owners, whether they are homeowners or developers. This year on our block, a developer removed 2 perfectly healthy trees from the front yard to stuff the lot with a condo box, and he did that in violation of an agreement with the planning department. If that pattern were repeated too many times, our neighborhood would simply become a row of boxes sweltering in the sun. To prevent that kind of disaster from happening, the commission must recommend to the council that the city is bound to protect trees living on private property. A person may choose to live in the country on his own 5 or 10 wooded acres. Chop down a tree or 2 hardly affects his neighbors. But if a person chooses to live in a densely populated city like Redondo Beach, chopping down 2 perfectly healthy trees does affect the neighbors, and if allowed to be repeated, the whole community. Developers and their money have influenced many city councils to let the developers scrape lots, causing the environmental situation we are now in with regard to trees. For developers, mature trees on a lot are a cost burden. It's much cheaper to scrape a lot than to work around existing trees. It's cheaper to architect from bare dirt than to design around existing trees, especially mature trees. Many cities have given in to developers and allowed them to scrape lots with promise of landscaping on the finished project. But when the project is completed, you can easily see that the landscaping was the lowest priority, a cheap add-on with maybe a sapling or 2. A sapling is no substitute for a mature tree. I urge the commission, like councilperson or commission person Nafisi to recommend that the city changes planning and development ordinances and rules so a review of existing vegetation takes place at the earliest stage of design and priority is given to preserving existing mature trees. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last card is Teresa Mitchell.
Hi there, Teresa Mitchell. I live in District 4, just south of Aviation and, or south of Artesia near Aviation in the ACAP area. So as the City Council has been prioritizing that. My background is I have a master's in urban planning and concentration in environmental sustainability. So this is a specialty of mine. One of the things that I noticed along Aviation and also in our neighborhood, because there's a large portion that are tall and skinny, is that we have whole blocks that are a driveway apron. So one of the policies that I would recommend, and even on Aviation, there's 50-foot curb cuts, multiples in front of properties, which it eliminates the ability for parkway trees along Aviation and probably Artesia as well. And then the same thing with wider curb cuts, wider driveways means less landscaping in the front yards and the private. So that's something that I think is within Public Works control to just maximize single driveways. And then also adding permeable surfaces to the sidewalks, because it's not just having a concrete with a small little box for trees and maybe the tree person. It doesn't really infiltrate the water. We lose a lot of water in that area. And so, I'm hoping that the ACAP is one of the priorities, because we do have kind of a glut of trees and open space in that area. Two cities that have some really interesting programs is the city of San Diego has a landscape point system. So when you're developing, you have to have a certain number of points and different size trees and different ages or trees and planting and open space. Has to be met. And then the other is Sacramento has basically a tree czar where they have tagged all of the inventory, and before a tree is removed, they have somebody come out and inspect it. So the mature trees on private property is protected, but they're two really, really comprehensive plans that might be informative for Redondo Beach. So, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
There's no other cards. There is no hands raised on Zoom. There is. You can come up.
Hello again, Commissioners. Laura Duke. I'm so happy that this topic is on the agenda, and I hope the lack of proper tree canopy in Redondo Beach will get addressed. Don't forget, these are my prepared comments, so I didn't see Mara here when I came in, but there is this new group, Citizens for Redondo Trees, and I hope you will work with them. They've got a ton of information that could be helpful. They recently were formed by Laura McMorrin and Mara Lang, and I just want to say, if each of us stops to think about what makes a neighborhood lovely to walk through, it's a route that is shaded by trees. It provides you coolness, makes the light less harsh, and what you're not even seeing is it makes the air you're breathing cleaner. The presence of trees puts people at ease, which you demonstrated perfectly with the slides earlier. I've had experiences where suddenly mature trees have been removed, and it seems like it happens without proper notification to the residents. This has happened to me more than once, and I know I'm not alone. I recall a group of citizens a few years ago rallying around an established tree at PCH and PV Boulevard to no avail. I hope your attention to the overall matter of trees in Redondo, both established and ones to be planted, will include a solid plan for including Redondo residents. The trees can't speak for themselves except for the nice noise they make when the wind rustles through their leaves, so it's up to us all to speak for them. I hope that the city will be receptive to learning the many benefits of trees. Trees are important to everything from climate change mitigation, upping home values, and habitats for animals. A city needs an official and an enforceable tree plan, because we only need to look around to see that without one, the results can be dire. Thank you for putting this on the agenda and finally giving it the attention it deserves. This news makes me hopeful for the plight of trees in our city. And I just wanted to mention that as far as with Commissioner Nafisi, what you said about when people initially submit their plans, that would be a perfect opportunity for the planning department to say, hey, here is what you need, here's what we recommend. And if people, because there's a tendency right now to maximize space with building, perhaps incentivizing could be an option. And really something is going to be necessary in that way if people don't abide by it, because of what you said about the 75% of the area of Redondo is private. So unless people have it on their radar, these are just getting mowed down, these areas, and just build, without any permeable space and without the trees and other vegetation that a comfortable environment, a beautiful neighborhood should have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, there's no hands raised on Zoom. There is 3 e-comments. 2 are supportive of moving forward with more trees. And 1 is neutral, just mentions not allowing flowering or fruiting trees.
Okay.
Could we bring,
Commissioner Anderson?
yeah, could we bring our soon-to-be retired professional up here so he feels like he didn't just sit here all night and, get some perspective before you...
Perspective with regard to our tree ordinance, that's sort of my area of expertise here. This started back in 2021. The city council had been approached with various concerns that we were losing some of our urban forest, both on public property and private property. We were asked to go out and start to develop an ordinance to not only to implement, sort of formalize some of the procedures that were already in place to protect trees, but also to look at protecting trees on private property, which had never been done in the city. Once we started going down that road, at some point the city council changed their mind with regard to private property and said they decided, in a very close vote, as I recall, decided they at that time did not want to get into regulating trees on private property. So in that case, the ordinance, which you may or may not have seen, strictly addresses trees on public property, in parks and parkways and other green spaces, perimeters of city buildings. So as Andy mentioned, that's something that we take very seriously. In Redondo Beach, unlike some neighboring cities, like where I live, you're in a neighboring city, you're responsible for your own parkway tree. Right. You're responsible for trimming it. You can't cut it down without the city's approval, but in Redondo Beach, the city takes care of everything. It's actually against the municipal code to do anything to your parkway tree. If residents water it, of course, we wouldn't complain. So we formalized all those procedures for protecting trees. There's procedures in place for if somebody wants to request to remove a parkway tree, we'll take a look at it. We'll only allow it. Mark will go out and look at these things for a very good reason. If a tree is outgrown its environment, if it's in a parkway and it's so big that it's pushing up sidewalks in the street, if it's so overgrown that, it's a danger to drop limbs that could hurt, cars, people, property, then those are or if it's severely diseased and it's just sort of outgrown its useful life, those are the only reasons we would ever consider allowing removal of a tree on public property.
What's your perspective on, because you're really kind of talking the public line right now, how do you think that ordinance would work on the private side?
Well, I'm a career public works guy, so public property is really my thing.
Right.
As somebody who's lived around the South Bay, actually my wife and I lived in Redondo, our first house. Andy and I talked about this. My opinion is that if we're going to move the needle on increasing the tree canopy, we really need to look at private property. Mm-hmm. I think we do an awful lot, as much as we can, really to preserve and increase the canopy on parkways, parks. I think the number was 75% of the area in the city is not under the city's control. So I think that's where we need to look to really move the needle on shade.
Commissioner Bajaj.
Yeah, thank you for that. apologies for having such a, not having a lot of familiarity in this world. So right now, private property is not regulated. So if, there's an older house that has, 2 mature trees, I think there was an example of this somewhere earlier, and a developer comes in and puts in, 3 on a lot, right now they can remove those trees with zero consequence or zero anything in their plans get signed. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay.
So we don't have any preservation.
Right.
Requirement.
And so the idea is now to create some type of enforcement or some type of regulation where maybe it would be now like a case-by-case scenario, or if they were going to remove that for maybe one of the circumstances that we've just been informed about, now they can like offset that loss by planting a new tree or something like that. If it does not fall under one of those categories, then is a building permit just denied because of the tree? Is that like where the controversy lies?
So you're saying in a scenario where somebody,
Yeah, like if a builder wants to build on a property that has 2 healthy, mature trees, and at that point, is there zero option for that developer or even a homeowner that might want to?
if the trees are in the right of way, mature trees, we won't move the tree to accommodate the build. We just went through this not long ago.
But like in this hypothetical scenario of there being some control over the private.
Well, I understand. Yeah, I mean, I think there are different ways that can work. There's the carrot approach. Somebody mentioned the City of San Diego's landscaping points program. The APA graphic up there had something about points or kind of bonus points for having coverage. I haven't really explored how all those work yet. We're going to pull in our community development team who's got more experience with that. You can certainly invite one of the audience members.
I would like to hear more. I mean, I'm pretty unfamiliar with it, and I'm sure maybe there's some other folks up here who are just as unfamiliar.
Please come up to the podium.
Please.
Sure.
So back when Laura and I approached the city council, and we had drafted an ordinance, and the process by which we ended up sitting with the city, it didn't have like a linear path. And so what ended up happening is some of the things we really wanted to do didn't get translated to the city council. So long story short, one of the things that we did want to discuss was protections on private property, but we didn't want to protect them in the rear. So we just wanted to explore protecting trees in the front setback. And that's an area where builders and homeowners can't build anyway. And so what ended up happening is what was presented to the city council was let's protect trees in the rear. And that was never a goal of ours. I think that's a really divisive kind of step and not something that we were championing at all. And a lot of cities don't protect trees in the back. So that would have been a dramatic step. So anyway, some of the things that the city already does, and I think they may have changed it recently, but so if you're, especially in North Redondo, so if you're building a brand new house, the city requires you as part of your development standards to put a tree in the front yard, but they don't protect it. So what happens is in order to get their certificate of occupancy, they have to plant the tree, but there's no one coming by to say, oh, you planted that tree, where did it go? And so that was like our super easy first step. Okay, you're requiring the tree in the front yard anyway, just protect it. Let's not even protect anyone else's trees, just the new trees that we're planting moving forward. And so the city can determine, and the city council and the commissioners will give input on how far they want to take this. And so there's just really like baby steps we can do. And then eventually you can always amend the ordinance if it seems like the community has a stomach for protecting trees on private property. I don't know if that.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Before you leave, what's your name, Laura? Or
It's Mara Lang.
How are you funded? How are you funding your initiative right now?
Oh, so it's a brand new initiative. So
All volunteers came together and.
So it's all volunteers. I think I said before, I'm on the board of South Bay Parkland Conservancy. So we're really hoping that that board takes this initiative under their wing, and we kind of work under their their name. And we're going to apply for grants and, yeah, get, just kind of shake the branches and see like how we can move forward with this. I think we really want to get some trees in the ground. That might just be like fundraising for a few, putting them in the ground, but we really need the city's buy-in if we're going to be doing on Parkway. And I haven't even approached them, so.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. If you've approached a city, have some sort of partnership. I think a big thing that's needed is education. It's just educating the local residences, because if you look at the gap during 2018 and 22, I can tell you one of the probably primary reasons they had a reduction in canopy is during the pandemic, so many people were doing yard work and landscaping. So many of my neighbors were doing that, and they were cutting trees down. And that was probably a main cause, because people were just at home and they were doing landscaping projects. Education, I think, is so important. Having people, and so what you're proposing and some of the things that you're doing in your mission here in your organization is, volunteer-led planning, walk and talks, creating some sort of, education program with materials that can be distributed. I think that's really an area that we can start talking about. That's low-hanging fruit. It's easy, probably not super expensive, to just educate the need of expanding tree canopy and the benefits to local residents.
Yeah, I really agree. And I think that changing the narrative a little bit from like negativity around trees, like when you maybe go, and this was years ago, you go to the city website and you look at, you have a question about trees, and the first thing is, click here if you want to remove your tree, or click here if you're having a problem with your tree, instead of like, click here if you want to learn like how to plant a tree or how to maintain your tree, or, this list of resources or whatever. And so I think there's a huge opportunity to sort of like move the needle that way, that our canopy is a point of pride, it's, something that we work on together. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of people do complain about trees. I hear about tree complainers all the time, and we do have a lot of invasive species of trees, like the ficus tree. I mean, those they grow rampant. They have roots. It's crazy. It goes under homes. So those obviously have to be addressed, and a lot of people have issue with that. But I think teaching residences the importance of having healthy, safe trees in the community, I think it's important. It'll disincentivize them from looking at a tree in a negative way to say this is a bothersome thing. I think it starts with education. That's certainly something that I would say we would propose as a first step.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, if I could just add too on what we were talking about earlier, while we were developing the tree ordinance, before we were directed by the city council to take private property off the table, there was a lot of discussion of creating like a protected or heritage tree designation. Trees that met certain characteristics, like either in size or like unique species or some type of historical significance on private property, would have some type of protection. We never got far enough to actually, flesh out what that protection would be, but there was a lot of interest in creating sort of a special protected tree classification.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question. Do we have enough time before the meeting to do a subcommittee so we can really do a little bit of research and make some recommendations?
So the strategic plan asks the staff to return to the council by the 1st of November. So we are planning to go back to. That said, I don't think it'll be the only time the council hears us. And in fact, they may redirect it back to this commission for further conversation. So no in the short term, but probably in the long term, I guess is how I'd answer your question.
Yeah, sure.
A couple questions.
Really?
So I have a large carrot tree in my front yard, probably would be considered a heritage tree. I think it's better at growing mushrooms out of it than anything else. So, and I'm doing my best to keep it alive, but it's kind of, do I support a program that could possibly charge me, what did I have in here, of your violations resulting in a fine to cover the cost of planting 5 trees plus $15,000? That just fills me with joy. I mean, at my own house, my own tree, I've probably taken down, I've taken down a jacaranda tree in my backyard and planted 10 other trees. Granted, they're all fruit trees and I get a big kick out of it, but that's another conversation. I do love trees. I love being out in the forest. I love going down different streets near where I live, and canopy trees on both sides almost covers the complete street. It's like, you know what, I'm jealous I don't live on one of those streets. How do we get this? So we plant trees on private property and not create, if the tree is too young, I see it creating a bush-like effect, which would also be almost a, what do you call it? It would be a hindrance for other people to drive and, because there should be the 42-inch ordinance for required front yards to not have any bush or tree there for 42 inches up to the house. But there's, I see a lot of people get around that as well. But that's just something to think about. Are we going to put in mature trees or something? Because that's going to be a lot more cost prohibitive for the city. Something tall and skinny with a nice canopy, I would be all for, but I wouldn't want to have a palm tree in my front yard either, as you can't just chew that up and throw in the green trash can. That has to be thrown in your waste trash can, because that stuff does not compose very well. So the city, I'm very interested to see what we can do, but there's a lot of stuff. And then with the, what do you call it? The building department, because of the short of the housing, I can see that they're gonna, let people take out trees because of the housing shortage. You're adding a new ADU in the rear yard or something, they're gonna give you preference over that over a tree. So there's a lot more stuff here that meets the eye.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. There are, the housing crisis in our state that's been declared has taken away a lot of local control of not just trees, but many other of our setback ordinances, density ordinances, things like that. So that would all certainly be considered in a kind of a plan going forward, and certainly in any ordinance should not be in conflict with those kinds of statewide requirements. I do think there's room to work in this space, certainly, and the suggestion about the front yard setback, I think, is a good area maybe to start. There are programs, I think somebody mentioned they lived in a place where there were no parkways, just the way the neighborhood was set up, no driveways or sidewalks, perhaps no parkways. But, the city might be able to provide a tree to those areas where a street tree won't fit in the parkway, where there is no parkway or it just won't fit. Perhaps trees could be provided to those residences if they were willing to plant them and take care of them. So those are all great programs that we can think about and include in any kind of recommendation that we make.
One more thing, what about the school properties and stuff? There's a lot of times where a whole swath of the school doesn't have any kind of trees because the playground, it comes right up to the trees. I know that's not city property.
No. Schools, they function under the whole different State Department of the Architect. They have a whole different set of rules, stormwater quality, number of things that we deal with. Public Works, they're just listening, marching to the beat of a different drummer on that. So how they handle trees, we can certainly speak with them. The City Council has a subcommittee that's in regular contact with officials from the school district. Maybe that's a topic to address with them as well, part of a suggestion there.
Right.
I have a couple questions. So the decline in the trees, do you think that had anything to do with the type of trees that were in there and because we're heating up this earth?
I haven't studied enough to know. Beyond the polygons that we looked at with our GIS, I just don't know.
Okay, and you said that or forgive me if I misunderstood, that there's really, as far as when they're installing the trees, they don't have any certain requirements that it's got to be how would I say it, roped off or barricaded or build something that like when they're doing construction, they can't cross those lines?
No,
to
that's in
protect the
our
trees?
city, that's in our ordinance now for city-owned trees. We need to, the construction protection
Okay.
zone around the trees is required, and Mark monitors that. And when we have encroachment permits in the public right-of-way and builders are building and moving equipment in and out, that we
Okay.
make sure those trees are protected.
Okay. And of the tree list you gave us, do you have any percentage approximately of which one are native plants versus non-natives?
I'll let you have that one.
We have approximately 4 species that are California native on that list.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about? Very good street trees. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, currently we have 18 species on that approved street tree list. I do think that there's room to grow and look at other species. Look at species that would be larger at maturity, which would help to increase our diversity.
Okay, and we're at 8% and ideally 15% or higher, right? So would it be safe to assume that we could potentially, that gap of 18% to the 28% do native and require native species?
Yeah, my understanding, and Mark helped me with this, but native trees to Southern California are great in the sense that they're native, but they're not necessarily great canopy trees. So we have to be willing to probably go beyond our native species list to really have the most effective canopy producing tree list. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's correct. And there's actually very few true California native species trees as being a coastal desert.
Okay, and of the communities that you've worked in, where have you seen the most success in what type of plants that were installed for, maximum canopy?
I've seen the most success with species that are native to the Southwest United States and Australia.
And do you just a few names of those by any chance?
For example, the Metrosideros, New Zealand Christmas tree, Torrey pines, coast live oaks, which is a California native, valley oaks, magnolias tend to do very well.
I love magnolias. Okay. And the report was fantastic, by the way. It's super informative. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thanks for coming out. I did have a couple other questions. I'll think about any of the commissioners, Commissioner Bealey.
Oh, Bajaj.
I'm sorry, Bajaj. I'm so sorry.
Somebody had mentioned earlier about the tall and skinny neighborhoods, which we have quite a few of in North Redondo. And, it's just a street of just, driveway aprons. Because these are there's really no sidewalk on those streets. The driveway apron almost forms the sidewalk. Is there any opportunity that you see for an ordinance to have some type of improvement there to, how would a tree well conceptually be installed on a street like that if someone's doing construction and now that's a requirement for them? How does that happen?
That's a tough one, looking at those aerials. One option might be if the street is wide enough that you install medians and have raised medians with planters in them to improve canopy in those areas. But yeah, I don't have a lot of ideas off the top of my head about how to address our tall and skinny neighborhood. Yeah, it's a challenge for parking. It's a challenge for a lot of things.
Did you have a solution for that?
Yeah, so
Are you able
Can you
to
please
come up?
in some cities, what they'll do is, so you have the sidewalk, and instead of having the parkway on the curb side, they'll have the parkway up against the property. So basically, instead of having it kind of jut out from the curb, it'll jut out from the property, if that makes sense.
Got it.
So it'll be walking and it'll kind of come out a little bit. And so it has the space to grow, like under the property, there'll be green space adjacent. So they've done, Laura, my, co-group leader, she's a planner, and she's in Lomita, they were doing it like that too. So there's lots of creative solutions out there.
Yeah, because it seems like most of North Redondo is built with the sidewalk all the way up to the curb face without any, not much of a setback on the property side and no parkway. And, it definitely seems to be a huge challenge.
We've done a few creative places where like Ripley makes that kind of diagonal run through those streets. And we have some funny looking intersections there along Ripley where we're considering redoing those islands with planting, just to try and increase the canopy in the right-of-way itself. I don't remember on the tall and skinnies where the property line is relative to the sidewalk. If it's immediately behind the sidewalk, I think that's the trouble.
Yeah. The apron is the sidewalk.
Yeah, exactly. So we could, potentially we could do bulb outs into the street, for instance, to create space. I think we've done some of that on Artesia Boulevard. Maybe we went back the other way towards the property. I can't remember, but there, to her point, there are ways, but there's just things that we have to give up if we do that.
Right.
And that's always going to be the challenge, is the demand for that right-of-way space.
I was just going to add, so in South Redondo, there's on like at the avenues, they have full-size parkways, and then when you hit the top and come down, they're super narrow. And there's this one street, I think it's Avenue D, and they have a beautiful canopy on there, and they're all dealing with parkways that are this wide, and they found trees that work in that space. And so that's something else, a guide that can help homeowners and the city determine what would be appropriate in a really narrow one that can still give us that coverage, and wouldn't become a nuisance. So that's where all that research would come into play. Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson?
So I think in a long-term aspect, I'm a fan of urban forest master plans. I'm a fan of plans in general. I think it provides guidance in the long term, and in the modern municipal world where we can sometimes find grants for these, that'd be great. And maybe that plan ultimately develops grants for other opportunities for urban forestry later on too, right? That is really how the grants are going these days, right? You have to have the plan before you can go for the next phase. So I think that's great. And we've got a master plan in 4 or 5 years. That'd be great. I'm not a fan of telling people what to do on the property specifically, but I am a fan of incentivizing them what to do on the property. And I do think there are certain things you can do. You can create a list of accepted trees and not accepted trees, basically. And that's just really much more in terms of, I'm thinking from a maintenance standpoint as it relates to if things fall and they start to get caught in the storm drains a lot, or something that's very near and dear to my heart, getting a setback off of the sidewalk so that way they don't have root intrusion and become ADA issues. ADA issues largely in municipalities are a result of urban forestry issues. So I think those are some things we can do. We can maybe do 2-to-1 replacement requirements on trees that are 3 or 4 inches in diameter or more, something like that. The city of Los Angeles does that. Ordinances where if we remove 2 or 3 trees, you're gonna have to get approval, or you're gonna have to go to the commission or the council for approval of that. Just makes it a little more challenging for them if they want to start raising things down. They just have to go through more of a process. I even think that's the case for if you start to tier these different types of trees, hey, you want to take this type of tree down? You have to go to the council to get this approved, et cetera. I don't, but like, for example, I've had to deal on projects as a civil engineer where we've had to take out oak trees, and it's just a disaster. When it's like, nope, this is protected, we can't do anything. All it does is incentivize people to have, just do it in the night. I think that we need to be mindful of the fact that, while I think the heritage idea is great and we can provide them a certain status and make it more challenging for them to get removed, if somebody wants to remove that tree, I think they should have that right based on some mitigation measures. And then, the spatial requirements. And a little thing that I thought was interesting, I saw kind of pop up a few times, was you could talk to this 24-inch tree discussion that keeps coming up. it's my understanding that we have a more mature tree palette. And if we want to kind of make it younger, I don't know why we are always so focused on this 24-inch tree to get it there. This is the problem with mature tree. We're too mature, so we're going to put mature trees. And I think we should, obviously it takes time, but if we put and have a focus on having several different types of trees, younger trees, and some of them make it through, that'll over time make it have a much more recommended distribution. Yeah, those are some of the big ways I think that we can kind of work in the short term.
I have a question. When the state changed the property line, the zoning on it, did that have any impact on this 2018 to 2022 margin for the trees?
You're talking about the housing changes to the housing codes and the loss of local control.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not that adept on the history of when all that happened. It seems to me it's happened in that time frame, but whether it was a true cause and effect, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Seems like we need to do some changes in the policy of the verbiage, especially if we can control the new developments and specific language of requirements of what they can do, cannot do. I also liked Commissioner Nafisi's idea of, information, education regarding what you're signing up for, or what you're getting into. So, the creating the education, also changing policies so that there's some mandate for trees. So we're going to have the opportunity to get the canopies that we're looking for. Commissioner Nafisi?
I just did a quick search online, and almost every single free giveaway is connected to a utility. What is that? Why is that?
A lot of times they're connected to utilities because they need to remove incompatibles with overhead conductors. So my experience in the past working in North San Diego County, any trees that had to be removed that were in conflict with overhead lines, we would get a one-to-one replacement. Okay. And the same would apply to the adjacent property owner if the utility were to remove a tree on private property.
Okay. And it looks like SCE has a very robust tree giving program. They have an amazing community development department. I know you guys have a great relationship with Diane Forte. That would be an amazing conversation to kind of spark that up to see if that's something they can maybe institute here. They do it in different cities. I'll email you the link that I just found. So maybe something to think about.
So what does our commission think about a subcommittee?
So we only have 1 month left, right?
We have 1 month, which he said no, but then yes, because we're going to come back in November. So no,
well,
yes.
We're going to go to the council before November 1st, hopefully. And I don't know what council will do, of course, but if part of your suggestion is that this commission would like to develop a subcommittee to, help craft whatever we do moving forward, I certainly will be part of our recommendation.
I would like to. Any commissioners would like to?
I like the idea of that, of having those who are more knowledgeable guide the process, because, I feel it would be an injustice for someone like myself who's very unfamiliar with this topic to, have a meaningful voice in it. So I do like the idea of a subcommittee.
Fantastic.
How does that get executed?
We would make a motion.
Call for a creation
of a recommendation, right? Including in
So probably the right order would be for you to recommend it tonight as part of what we present to the city council on ways to increase canopy as a strategy. And then, depending on what the council says next, we can report back to you, and then you all could move to form a subcommittee to address this in the future.
So we wouldn't do a subcommittee before to get the information to present?
It seems like waiting for the council to give direction on what the big picture strategic plan. Council may decide to do something on their own without necessarily bringing it back to you. I don't know. So probably, you could form something tonight, but there's no guarantee that it would meet again or that it would be it would lack the information the council is going to give you the best direction on how to proceed at their pleasure.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd love to bring it back and then
So-
spin off what we've got.
So our
Commissioner
action
Bajaj?
would be to make a motion to take the recommendation to council to create a subcommittee on this topic.
So for instance, the council has so many things that they're dealing with. Certainly this commission's offer to kind of do initial steps to start developing strategic ideas, programming, moving forward, something like that, I'm sure would be well received. And they may make some recommendations about what you do with that in the future.
So could I make a motion?
Let's go, Commissioner Anderson.
So I'd make a motion to look for funding opportunities to ultimately have an urban forest master plan. Look at some replacement requirements. Opportunities for commission or council approval depending upon if certain trees or certain amount of trees are removed, and creating a tiered list of trees for the city of Redondo Beach. That is all, yeah.
Commissioner Bajaj?
I feel like wouldn't these be the kind of suggestions that would come out of a subcommittee?
That's what I would have thought.
But I thought we don't have time.
Well, I think the recommendation is, big picture, what strategy should we pursue? Should we pursue real specific things on community development side? Should we pursue a master plan? Should we pursue, subcommittee as a vehicle to carry the conversation forward on behalf of the city council? Those are all great suggestions. We will certainly include them in the minutes from this meeting if they're ready. We hope they'll be ready in time to present, but if not, we can verbally share or in writing share that in our staff report, what the recommendations were. But I think, there's a big spread between, hey, let's just plant 200 trees next year instead of 100 and call it a day, and let's develop an urban master plan. We're looking for that direction to what does the commission support? What should our recommendation be in terms of how we present this to council in terms of strategic thinking about moving this forward over the next years and decades, perhaps?
I feel like I would highly recommend for us to do a subcommittee so that we can be strategic in our presentation. We can collaborate with all of our partners, the experts, and get all the data, review some of the data so that we can make the proper recommendation, because it's a lot. And so I think that would be one of our, that would be part of my recommendation. Commissioner Nafisi, do you have any comments? Commissioner Bealy? Sorry.
I agree with you. I think we should, if you could reform that and put it into a motion, I think we'd be right on target.
Okay. Input, Commissioner Sal?
I think a long-term approach is necessary here. Probably a lot of us aren't super experts in this type of urban planning. I certainly am not. I have my own personal opinions about things, but I think, establishing some sort of coalition to come up with best practices. I think partnering with a citizens group to get their feedback and understand, work with other, thought leaders.
Experts. Commissioner Anderson? Do you have any comments?
No,
Commissioner Bajaj?
No, I'm for the idea of a subcommittee as well.
I saw mine. I think we should. Somebody ought to make that motion.
So just for the record, Commissioner Anderson had a motion. There was no second, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So I say we make a motion to form a subcommittee so that we can be strategic in our planning to help develop canopies and all of the other growth and development, maintenance, and everything that we've spoke about this evening. And protection. So protection, and we need to change some laws, recommend changing some policies So I just recommend we do a subcommittee.
If I may, just, I
Commissioner
think I can
Bajaj.
clean up your thoughts a little bit. So I don't know how do you make an amended motion, or do I provide an?
I don't think that was an official motion. Maybe it was just an idea. So if you
Oh,
want to,
okay, then I will make a motion that a subcommittee be formed to provide input regarding priorities, scope, values, and strategies for an overall on this subject.
So just to be clear, is your intent to form a subcommittee tonight and name members, or is it to present that as an
Yeah,
item
to
to
present it
city
to
council?
city council,
Okay.
that a subcommittee be formed
Thank
to
you.
carry this discussion on
Okay.
further.
Yep,
And bring it back to us.
that's understood.
Yeah.
And then I heard a long-term approach versus a short-term approach. Is that
Absolutely.
Long-term approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that cleaned up? I mean, were you able to clean that up? And
Yeah, I think we
We'll have
understand.
to ask
So-
for guidance in
So I'll
1 month.
Yep.
yeah.
I don't know. So
Well, it's just the beginning of the conversation, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And so we just
Yeah.
kind of want to get the juices flowing.
Yeah.
So
It
our
obviously seems to
presentation
be
to council reflects at least some other thoughts.
going to have some very strong opinionated folks, advocating for or against, what decisions you're making. You had something to say?
I was just, we need to second the motion.
Oh, yeah.
which I would second it.
Okay.
Well, we have a second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Bajaj, second by Commissioner Simpson.
Correct.
We need a roll call on that?
Roll call. Commissioner Simpson?
Aye.
Commissioner Bajaj?
Aye.
Commissioner Anderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Nafisi?
Hi.
Commissioner Beely?
Aye.
Commissioner Sal?
Aye.
Chair Arata?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm trying to get back to my. I'm trying to get back to my page. Damn, yours up.
There you go.
We're on item K, right?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what my KI item is. Oh, here we go. Okay. Sorry, I'm so deep in the administrative report. Let me get up there. Sorry about that. All right, let's go.
We're in K.
I know, I'm trying to get to K.
Item
Okay, here we
K.
go. All right, so, K, commission member items and future commission agenda topics.
I have nothing.
I have none.
I have one thing for the chair.
Commissioner Anderson.
So back in April, I brought up as part of the strategic planning session to review some opportunities for the city to provide recommendations on a first last mile solutions and various other elements for the Green Line extension. It's my understanding that it is going through final environmental review right now and is going to be adopted by LA Metro. I don't know what the future action of the city council is going to be on this. But I do recommend for a future commission agenda item might be to look at some areas of benefit and really start to get, this is starting to become real now, I think, and think about some areas where we can talk to Metro about elements that could really be beneficial to the city as this gets installed. I think the earlier we're out on it, the better option, the more opportunity we're going to have for it. And I think it also provides more cover with respect to maybe the county might seem as betterments, but I think if we put a strong line and start earlier, we can, it'll be easier for us. So that's something that I would recommend for a future commission topic.
That requires the concurrence of the commission on that, so just point of order.
Requiring concurrence of
It does
Correct.
require the concurrence of the commission for that to be a future agenda topic. Certainly willing to do that, but procedurally, that's the next step here is for the rest of you to agree that that should be on a future agenda, or at least the majority of you.
Well, I agree.
Does it have to be motion and voted?
We can take a vote on if the commission would like to add that to the future.
I would caution that we wait till it's all finalized, the environmental report, and once Metro makes their firm decision, because we don't want to start, pre-planning until it's completely finalized. And so I have no idea where does Andy, do you know, like, what kind of timeline there is where Metro is leaning towards final adoption of the alignment?
I've heard it speculated that by the end of the year.
Okay.
And I know our city council is publicly opposed the locally preferred alternative. So it might seem premature to start talking about first last mile around the locally preferred alternative.
Correct.
Until it's done, because it's in opposition to what our council has taken a position on. Likewise, it might also be premature to start talking first last mile around the city's alternative, because it may never come to fruition. So it would seem to be judicious to wait until at least the environmental impact study report has been adopted and the locally preferred alternative has been identified.
Yeah, well said. I think that's kind of the point I was trying to make, is that, we want to continue fighting the good fight.
Yeah, excellent idea, certainly. Yeah. And there's a lot, you're right, there is a lot of grant money available, and project ideas is an excellent way to, in fact, the city's got obligations, I think, to contribute to the portion of the project that goes through our city. So, those are all great ideas to pursue. I just think we want to get the timing right on that one.
Just rumored it might happen in October. It could be coming up quick.
Had not heard that rumor, but.
Yeah. It's been moving, I think, a lot quicker than other people had anticipated as well. And I'm not recommending that it's next month. And maybe we can drop it for now, but something I think that should be thinking around within the next year.
Good.
Okay. Commissioner Anderson?
He was good too.
Commissioner Anderson.
Simpson.
I know, I was asking Commissioner Anderson, you're good?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Commissioner Bajaj, Commissioner Simpson, Commissioner Nafisi.
Question. I did want to follow up on the request regarding the new park that's opening on September 30th. If we were to have that item come back as the Bill Brand Park, is it too late?
Oh, no.
Oh, it's never too late?
No,
okay.
I don't think so. I'm sure the mayor has heard this request as well.
Okay.
And I know his heart is in that same place. And so we're doing just a groundbreaking ceremony on the 30th for that event. And it'll take several months for the project to be done. So there's lots of opportunity still to have an official naming or something like that, if that was in the council's interest.
Okay. Is it possible to make that request for it to come back to this? Does it come to this and we make a recommendation to city council, or is that out of our purview?
No, I think we could put that on as an agenda item, maybe a consent item or something. Just
all right. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Commissioner Bajaj, did you have another comment?
Oh, no, I think Commissioner Nafisi asked if that is even something that comes to us, and it sounds like it does. It doesn't just go straight to city council for.
You're talking about the naming?
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't wait for you necessarily if they wanted to do it.
They don't need us.
It's going down.
But it would be nice.
We all want to. We
It would
agree.
be nice to say.
Lauren's got a little information more. Maybe she can help us.
Hello.
Hello.
I do get to talk to you.
Welcome.
Hi. Lauren Sawan, city engineer. There's a memo that we can do through this tonight if you make that recommendation to council. We can provide that to them. It's kind of a standard form. If there's anything noteworthy, we would go ahead and give them that information in a memo, and it's provided to them through the agenda in their next council meeting. So if that's something that you'd like to go ahead and recommend, we can definitely do that.
Yes.
But it would be council's decision to rename the park or name the park. So I don't believe it would actually come back to you, but it's definitely something you can recommend.
All right.
Thank you.
Commissioner, are you recommending?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah, we all seconded.
Is there support from the rest of the commission?
Absolutely. I say aye.
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 We're going
Aye.
order, sorry.
Yeah.
So all
And
in
would that be
favor?
to bring it back next month to
No,
do
no, that'd be,
or just?
I think
do a
that'd be
memo?
Send a memo.
included in our memorandum to the council about significant developments from each of the commissions, yeah.
Oh, this looks nice.
It's an agenda item next time.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the rendering until just now.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Sorry, so I think what Lauren was saying is we don't need to come back as an agenda item. If you're all in favor
Memo.
of us moving that forward tonight in
Absolutely.
our communication to the council, we can do that tonight.
Yeah, move it forward. We say aye. Commissioner Anderson, do you have any, Commissioner, I'm so sorry, Commissioner Beasley, I'm so sorry, I kind of feel like it today. Commissioner Beasley, do you have any comments?
No, I would approve that as well.
Oh, no, do you have anything else to
No,
bring?
I do not.
Commissioner Sal?
No.
Okay. So,
Need a motion to adjourn?
that's what I'm hoping.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I will second that motion.
Okay, and all in favor?
Just for the record, who got the second on this one?
Well, let
I'll
me
give it to Sampson.
Okay,
The next
Susan.
meeting of the Redondo Beach Public Works and Sustainability Commission will be a regular meeting to be held at 7 p.m. on October 27th, 2025, in Redondo Beach City Council Chambers, 415 Diamond Street. We are adjourned.
All right, thanks.
Boom.